Hey, Dr. Dustin here. I'm here again, Dr. Lindsay, like usual.
Hi,
this
guys.
is the Vital Wire. So, another topic, another day in the studio, bringing more content, thriving versus surviving.
I think it's a very important topic because I feel like a lot of people just go through the motions of life.
Yeah.
And if there's any way we can help bring that to your attention, I feel like a lot of people know when they're doing that and feel like there's no way out of that. So we're going to kind of touch on different ways to do that and kind of some things to maybe let go in your life.
Right. And there's so many different aspects, avenues, scenarios when it comes to this. Family, business, relationships, whether personal or professional. There's just so many different avenues. And sometimes we can be very good at analyzing some of these things as far as thriving and surviving, which can also be a little dangerous. You get so hooked on the one thing, like maybe it's just my career, like I'm just my professional relationships, and we get so tunnel vision and do such a good job in thriving in those areas that we don't realize what we put to the wayside.
Right. Letting those other things kind of fall aside, not being as successful in them. I think there's an old saying about that too. Like once you're doing well in your professional life, your personal life kind of goes to the wayside and kind of goes bad.
Right.
But yeah, so finding different ways to approach that and make sure that doesn't happen for you guys.
Yeah, and setting intention on that and being able to, like you said, a lot of those things go to the wayside because we didn't set the intention on what are the avenues first. There's family, there's business, there's personal, there's fun or hobbies. Analyze the avenues, I think, and this is all just coming off the top right now, but I think, and something that I can do better as well, and analyzing, okay, what are our avenues, and being intentional that all of those avenues have to travel, right? So it's not like you're trying to do all the things, but that way you don't let the distractions of just the one thing that you get super focused on, and I'm just going to focus on my career, then my relationship with my spouse, fiance, girlfriend, boyfriend, family starts to go to the wayside. So analyzing the avenues, I think, would be probably a great first step on what is that.
Absolutely. And setting, like you said, intentions, setting goals. And maybe that's as simple as I talked to someone the other day and she was like, me and my husband make a goal to wake up at 4:30 every day. Not because they have to get to work, but because when they get home from work, maybe they're coming at different times, the kids are eating, you're trying to help with homework, get them off to bed, and clean up the house so it doesn't look like a bomb went off. And there's not time to discuss, just how was your day or what's going on with you or what do we want to do this weekend. So they make that time to be together in the morning. And it sounds really early, but I'm sure as you get into that routine, it becomes really important to them. And so finding those different things in your life to make sure that you don't let those relationships go to the wayside.
Yeah, and I think it's a good segue into the first point that you had written down here was just the lack of respect for time.
Yes.
And we've said this in another podcast, or maybe it was another webinar we did. I say this a lot because I am not a morning person. I love getting up in the morning. It's not easy for me. Like some people just, bing, lights are on, let's go. But an hour in the morning is worth 2 at night.
Yes.
And it's so true. When you're able to get up, for those that have kids or those that do have to go to work and be out of the house at 6 a.m., getting up earlier, that 4:30, that before 5 a.m. club, they call it, is a super intentional time. It can be very gratifying because nothing else matters. You're awake, you have time with you, or if you wake up with your spouse, if that's your thing,
right,
then you guys have intentional time together, and you can respect that time together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've actually heard of people talking about that in the way of they get up between 5 to 8, and that is their me time. That's their personal time. And then 8 to 5 is their work time.
Right.
And being intentional with this time is for the family. This time is to get done what I want to do. Maybe it's exercise. Maybe it's make meals for the day or for the week, or just to have coffee and read your Bible or a devotional, or get in some like light hobby reading, that kind of stuff. Or spending time with your spouse. So absolutely.
While you're sitting here reeling off numbers, I'm going to break into your iPad.
Yes.
Oh, man.
So close. So close.
There we go. If we don't have this, this would go off the rails.
We get derailed.
We would go off the rails quickly. We'd send it around the top on the cushion, hit the wall, and go right out the pit gate. We would be gone. So definitely, yes, respecting that time. That's so good. And I think we all can be students of our calendar and really, put some more effort into segregating that time out and being intentional with
And
it.
that goes for work too. This comes back to like, we work in a very crazy office, but making sure that you make time to talk to each other. For us, it's a partnership, and making sure that we speak to each other about what's going on, what do we have in our head, what's on our plate, where will we be during the day if we're not here, so that we know what each other is doing. Same in your business. Maybe you have a coworker that you constantly are working with on projects, and maybe they don't show up or they don't have their stuff ready, and it's that lack of respect for your time and your work ethic. And really, it can be a hard conversation, but maybe a necessary one going forward, so that you both understand what that looks like and being very respectful of each other's time. Or maybe you're that person that's always running with their head cut off and never making it to things on time, and being intentional with your respect for others.
And I think like what even us being together here in Cottleville now, and now that we're both in the office together, because it very much started like we kind of had our own timetables as this was being built, and I was still servicing the other office, and you were building relationships here in the community. And then we got into the office, and it wasn't that we were disrespecting each other's time, but we were almost disrespecting our intentional time for the business.
Right.
And we learned very quickly, and we are off the cuff people. It's like, let's do it, and we'll figure it out, and we sit down and we fix it. But I feel like we've done a very good job, especially as of recently, in the past 30 days or so, of finding that groove, but setting intentional, like, okay, this is when we're doing this. This is when we're going to meet for these things. She's got to drive home right now, so we can talk on the drive home. And we set that up accordingly, because it's like, why not?
Yeah.
Like we can sit here and
It's
mull over
downtime.
everything, but having a respect for the time, not only for the other person, but for what your goals are, what your intentions are, what your mission is, and where you're trying to take this life. Respecting the time, because it's not just the person you're respecting, it's the goals, the values, the dreams that you have going forward that you need to respect as well.
Yes.
Balance in that time. A lot of people would expect maybe chiropractors to talk about balance. I hate talking about balance, because everything can be very, very different and dynamic, and it's more about harmony.
Yes.
So I think taking that conversation of balance, which I know where we're going with this as far as balance, but I also want to inspire some harmony in what it is you do in that work-life balance. Work-life hobby balance is very important. What's some of the harmonious things that you all go about, or what's your thoughts on the harmony and balance of?
So I think this is a really important subject, and it goes back to the first time I ever thought about this was in marriage counseling before we got married. So we had to, I don't know if you guys have done that, but when we got married, we sat down with our pastor that was going to marry us, and we had several meetings with him. And one of the things we talked about.
Most of us do marriage counseling in the middle of the marriage for certain reasons.
We did it at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
We said, well, you know what, let's get this out of the way.
Yeah, we're going to have to do this at some point in time. Let's just get this out of the way now.
But one of the things he really talked about, which I thought was great, was talking about roles. And there's the traditional roles of like the woman taking care of the household, but in our society, I feel like that's changed. Women are still trying to do the working side of that, having a career while taking care of the family. And a lot of times that role has switched, where the guy is actually trying to balance more of that too, and making sure that's even. And it's not always even. There's different phases of life where like maybe one person's doing more around the house because the other one's career is a little bit more time consuming, and just finding that harmony and being okay with the fact that things may shift. So the difference between balance of it being 50-50 and maybe it's not, maybe it's 70-30, maybe it's 60-40, and knowing that phase is going to end and being okay with it and being content with where you're at, and knowing that it'll switch again probably in the future, and finding that for your family.
And it's super important to have that conversation, and it can be a very fun conversation on how you, like, let's not create the balance and the harmony in this because you feel like this is going awry. Like, holy cow, we've got to figure this out. There's so much going on. There's so much, like, now let's figure it out. It's super fun, and Erica and I have done this, and I was very, very surprised. So I'm going to use a little bit of my story here real quick to wrap this together, because, of course, I can't not talk about racing in a single podcast, so here we go. But this was the fun part about it, because I wasn't going that direction with it. But we sat down, we're like, okay, what are we doing? What's going on? Kids are now going to school. Booty's one, our daughter Camden, she's one. We've got all this stuff going in the right direction. It's not that it's too much. It's just things are changing. Things are dynamic. You got those ebbs and flows and that growth in your family. And we're like, okay, what are we setting out to do? So yes, we have the thing. She coaches St. Dominic's dance team right now and probably will for as long as she possibly can. I race dirt modifieds on Friday nights typically at Tri-City. And what we found out is she wanted to keep doing her dance thing. She was excited for the kids to go to school because I want to serve her. I love seeing people come up and get and do what they want to do. But then she surprised me, and I would have never thought this, and this is the point I'm getting to, is she's like, I wish we could race more. Like, and I had no idea that was one of her things. But that very much shifts and shapes the balance and the harmony and the ebbs and flows of what we do in life and how we set up our schedule, going back to the previous bullet point of time. So she goes, I wish we could race like 8 days a week. And I'm like, holy cow. Like, and I had no idea, but had we not have had that conversation, we'd have never known. So you'd be surprised too, like what you can throw out that your spouse would be excited about, or what they might throw out that you would be excited about, and how that really shifts the dynamic of the harmony and balance of your schedule.
Right. That's so awesome. And it just speaks to, if you haven't met his wife, what kind of supportive and loving human being she is. That she wants to just take on one of his hobbies because it's so fun and she enjoys watching you in that hobby and being a part of that community. So finding those things that you can do together. Like, you probably would have harbored some guilt of feeling like you're spending a lot of time on the car and fixing stuff up and being at the racetrack and being away from them, feeling like you're putting more work on her plate. But it was the other way around. She wanted to be more a part of it. So that's just part of that communication and really finding what's fun. The same could be said for a family, that their kids are moving into more sport activities that happen on the weekend, and you feel like your schedule is full of just running the stuff, but your spouse may really enjoy that. And love being at those games, and may even want to be more involved as a coach, and being able to have that conversation and say, how can we fit more of this into our lifestyle? What can I do during that time? Not that you won't be present in their lives during that time, but for you to be able to do what you want to do too, or maybe to do it together in different ways.
And that really changes pretty immediately the work dynamic.
Yes.
Like, why you go to work. Like, this, having this conversation, I think is huge, just to have the mental fortitude, drive to, I would say, unfortunately, not everybody has their favorite job or career.
Right.
So having a conversation like this makes the chaotic work life and that work-life balance very, very much different in a good way, knowing that, holy cow, this is where we're trying to go, where we're trying to head, and where we want to spend a lot of our time. Now you have drive to go do the thing, make the money, because at the end of the day, people are always wanting to work less and go do more.
Right.
And at the end of the day, we like to retire with 10 years left, and then we want to start living. So you can enjoy
it. Yeah.
Then you want to start living. So having this conversation now can give you drive to either work maybe harder, have more fun working, you're a better person because of it, or even to make a shift in your life.
Yes.
To get you closer to what it is that harmony and balance looks like for you, and you can really start to...
Maybe it is a career change. Maybe it is changing it and going out on your own and starting a business, and maybe your spouse is more supportive of that change than you would think. Like, this goes back to our relationship and our partnership. When we had that conversation, it was a big decision for our family to potentially move to Missouri, to change up our career, to close a business that we had, to partner with over here in this business, and really see the clientele that I wanted to see and loved seeing and spending my time with, because that's what I was passionate about. And I was surprised that when we got in the car, I thought for sure my spouse and my husband, Andrew, I thought he was going to think, oh, this is a big move. This is so crazy. Like, I don't know if we can do this. We've been working towards this other goal, and for us to pivot and change. And he was the first person to be like, I think we have to do this. And I was just blown away. So having that communication and your goals going forward, our goal became less about business. Our goal became what our future was for our family.
And your decisions became less about business and more about time, harmony, family, and what it is you were trying to achieve, which is so good. Because then we can transition. We've covered 2 points. We're doing really well. We're doing
really
good,
guys.
Well.
We're going to stay on task.
And the next one being eliminating the negativity. We even had a talk about that today at the team meeting. We all know this is something I really, really focus on, because I'm a magnet and I'm an intensifier, and anything that's in the room I take in very quickly. and it goes into my head, and it takes me a little while to process and overcome it. So then I think in everybody in life and out here in society now, if we would just resort to the positivity and solution-oriented thinking, because here's the deal. Everything we've talked about so far, whether it's time, oh, I got to wake up early. Oh, I got to get the kids to school. Oh, we can't go to the lake this weekend. Oh, I can't race this weekend. Man, this is a lot. I don't want to go to work. And it's like ding, 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 negative, negative. It's if we can go into solution oriented, like what does this provide me? How does this get me closer to my goals? And if you can't answer those questions, well, then you've got to have a conversation with yourself, like we talked about. But resorting towards the positive, and as soon as the negative creeps in, do something good. Buy somebody's coffee, buy that car ahead of you, like go for a walk, whatever it is, because the negative is so profound, and that's where our mind likes to resort to be. And we're here to tell
reside.
you.
You want to stay there and stew in it. And I am the first person to be bad at this. Like, if something's wrong and I just want to complain and, for lack of a better word for it, bitch.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
my husband is not the person to do that too. And it is my dad. If I want to hear someone else just gripe back and be like, yeah, that was terrible, we could feed off each other for an hour. But sometimes you need that. You need that vent session just so you can get it all out and let it go. And that is that person for me, is my dad. I can call. He doesn't even have to be passionate about what I'm complaining about.
Right.
Doesn't matter. He will be the first person to be like, yep, that sucks. I'm so sorry. Like, let's talk about how awful that was, and then move on.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just got to get it all out so that you can move on to the positive. But even the way you talk, you're very intentional about this. And it's something we're definitely working on in the office, and making sure that the way you speak is very positive, because there's so much power and positivity and thinking positive.
And this goes back to kind of very much the title of the podcast, of thriving versus surviving, or thriving or surviving. Because in that time of commiseration, it's very, very important to make sure we're not commiserating. Don't put people around you that are willing to commiserate. And I think Dr. Lindsay and myself, we're very intent. We know who to go to. Like,
yes.
And I hate doing it to Erica. You don't like doing it to Andrew. So we try to find other outlets. But be very, very intentional on making sure it's not a commiseration. It can be a vent session. You're surviving.
Yes.
I got to survive through this. Let me get this out. But I'm not going to commiserate and live in survival mode. Get it out and start thriving past it, and get into that solution orientation of, okay, that sucked. I bitched it out. Let's move forward.
Yeah.
And it very much is a conversation, and I think maybe this will help a lot of people listening, as far as truly it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So even things here in the office, it's like, man, you have this shoulder issue going on. Here's my goal. Here's what we're looking for, is we want more quality of life, more range of motion, more things, where I could also start that conversation of, okay, you have the shoulder pain, you have the shoulder issue going on. Do you suffer from this? I bet you can't do this. I bet you have trouble doing this. And it's like, I'm not a salesy person. And maybe from a sales perspective, that pushes people closer to making an action decision.
Yes.
I don't care about that, because I more care about the mental fortitude going forward of being on the positive. So it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And starting with that positive connotation of, hey, we know change is coming, fall is coming, winter is coming. Let's prepare to have fun in the snow, versus like, holy shit, we're going to get all this snow this year.
They're already winter.
And it's like, no. Like, it is what it is. And if you don't like it, then move to Arizona. Like, don't move to Flagstaff. It can snow in Flagstaff. It does. But move to a place then that you don't even have to deal with that. Start eliminating the commiserating and negative aspects and conversations of your life.
Right. And I this makes me think of, and for anyone that really loves TV and loves This Is Us, you'll think of this. So in This Is Us, for you, because I know you probably don't watch this show.
No shot.
Randall and his wife, that when they come to a big decision or something that's changing or transition in his life, he says, let's do the thing, where they both throw out like the worst case potentially. Just let's speak our biggest fear with what's coming up.
Yep.
And I think it's a great idea, but maybe turn it on its head.
Yep.
What is the positive? What's the best thing that could happen
Yep.
if I do this? And is it worth it? So same going back to health. Like, what's the best thing that could come out of this? I could be out of pain. I could be able to go on that vacation we've always wanted to do with hiking, or I could watch my grandkids more during the week, which I would love to spend
I
more
could
time
pick
with
them up.
Yeah, stuff like that. Find the good.
sleep.
Don't speak the negative and the fears out there.
What the lady tell us yesterday? She started Softwave. I don't have to have the second surgery they told me I need to have.
Yes, that was so huge. I know she had been concerned about that. We had talked about it at almost every session I had with her. And I just kept thinking, we're almost there. We're almost there. Let's you're on the right path. You're in the right place. And to hear that come back out of her mouth that she no longer needs that it was huge. I know it was a weight lifted off her shoulders.
Yeah.
And
She was holding back tears.
Yeah.
I almost wanted to press her because I wanted to cry with her and like take a picture and then like frame that somewhere because I just love her so much. But to have that big shift, but she was very intentional with her time. She always made the time to be here. She was very consistent, and she was not okay with just surviving. She wanted to thrive, and like you said, having the what the worst case scenario is. I think that's great. Start with flip it on its head and be like, we're going to go on this trip. We're going to drive across the country with our kids. You know where I'm going with this now. With our kids, and they're going to be so cultured. They're going to see what it takes to do something like this. We're going to bond on a trip like this. And now, after that, I do think there's a level of importance of survival for sure. And I am this person. Like, I want to know what's available to happen to me, but you can't commiserate about it. It's like, okay, if we have a flat tire on this trip, do I have everything I need to change it? Like, it's okay.
There's a difference between being prepared and
okay, yeah, that's true.
and just being fearful.
Yeah. Very true. Very, very true. Very true. So negativity, like move into positivity. Anywhere negativity creeps in. Summarizing this, and maybe this will help. And if you have something I want you to share on it too, great. But anytime negativity creeps in, immediately take yourself and recognize that, okay, yeah, that sucks. What are my opportunities? And what are my solutions to make those opportunities drive forward? Because if we can flip into solution orientation, like, oh, I do have a flat tire. That sucks. My trip's ruined. We're not going to get there in time. It's like, okay, yeah, that sucks. Pause, delete, cancel. Now, at least I have the stuff to fix it. I need to pull over, get out of the car, make sure the kids are safe, tell them not to get out, fix this tire so we can continue on down the road.
Absolutely.
Obligations. Point 4.
This one is really big for me. I said no for the first time. I said no for the first time that I've actually thought no and wanted to say no, and then I said no in a situation a couple weeks ago. And it's not that I didn't want to be a part of that. It just didn't work for me. And I feel like
shout out Lacey Book. You didn't just say no. You said what?
That didn't work for me.
Yes.
And I feel like that's a really hard phrase for a lot of us to say, especially women, because we want to do it all. We want to be it all. But a lot of times the difference in saying that doesn't work for me opens up more for you to do or more to be available for, more to be present. And what I'm getting to is that there's a lot of obligations that we feel like we have to attend, whether it's so-and-so's birthday or some sort of lunch or a dinner, and just being very mindful of like, what are the important things that you're going to attend? What's important this week? It's important that, one, I go to work because I don't want to lose my job. It's important that, we have to make money so we can do the things we want to do. Yeah. It's important that I be there for my kids, whether it's a softball game or whatever that is. It's important that, we take the dog to the vet because he's had something going on. It's making time for the important things and not just the other stuff that fills your calendar.
But what that does too is, and I want to say this before I totally forget it, is you having the ability to say no, or you all having the ability to set a boundary. You're not saying no because you're being an asshole.
No.
Because at the same time, let me shape shift this from a different perspective a little bit. Imagine you said yes, and you weren't in 100% capacity when you went and did the thing that you said yes to. How does that affect the person, the people, the whatever it is, the event that you were at? How does that affect the event and the people there because you weren't 100% for something that you made an obligation to be at? So flip it the other 180 degrees. You created a boundary and said that doesn't work for me, however I can do it here. So you're not being an asshole. But you also show up at 100%. Now what are you able to give to that person because you set the initial boundary and said no, or that doesn't work for me, or whatever the case might be. But now you show up with 100% intention and capacity to do the thing, be at the event, whatever it is.
And I think a great example of this is room moms. How many of you have been roped into being a room mom and you're like, I don't have time for that, but I don't want to be that mom that says no, that's not involved. And just being able to say, that doesn't work for me. I can't make that kind of commitment. What I can make a commitment to is whatever you guys need that day, ice cream, cupcakes, some sort of craft. I will be the first person to order that and have it for you guys, and then you be at the party because I can't physically be there. So you're still involved, you're still doing a part, but you're doing what works better for you. So
Thriving versus surviving. I think there's a conversation. There's a book. It's more of a business and entrepreneurship and team leadership book. But one of the things I grabbed for this is the need to, the want to, and the capacity to do it. You want to take thriving versus surviving in a different direction. Think of everything through a lens like that, and that's what I wanted to. And I often lead questions like that. And I was talking to Dr. Ryan the other day. We're talking about putting on a guys' retreat. And I said, hey, I don't know if you want to be in on this. I don't know if you have the need, want, or capacity to do it. If not, let me know. Cool, you're just the first person I thought of. So need to, want to, capacity to do it. Know what you fall into. And even if it's 2 out of 3, know what you have to delegate if you want to be a part of that something or whatever it is. But really keep that in mind. Need to, want to, and capacity to do it. You're going to show up better for more people when you set those boundaries or you schedule it accordingly. You respect your time, and you can really execute 100%. Now, thriving versus surviving, a lot of these things, we've walked around the bush a little bit. We've tiptoed around this. Yes. So I actually want to take even our clinical and our personal chiropractic hats off. I would love to do that because even from a heart for me, in the past 2 years, the habits that people have done are changing, and they're wanting to know more about how can they no longer just survive but thrive in their health. And some of the habits that need to change, oftentimes people don't know what they need to change, what they're doing well, and then they just want to change everything. They get overwhelmed. It takes too much time. They don't know where to fit it in. They don't know how it can create more chaos in their schedule, and it's more of an obligation. I'm touching on all these points that we've talked about here to wrap it all in. But the wellness habits now, we want to see a society and a culture that is definitely more healthy from 2 to 92, cradle to grave. Like, how do we start to transition these poor wellness habits out of our life?
And like you said, we don't want to give you, a lot of people feel overwhelmed when they start making this change because there's so many different aspects that you can wrap into health and wellness. And I always tell people, especially like clients that are coming in, whether fertility or coming in for just back pain or what have you, that we're going to make tiny changes, bite-sized changes, fun-sized changes, if you will, if you were ever a big fan of little fun-sized Milky Ways as a child.
You'd better off giving me the big candy bar because I eat like 20 of those and it's just 10 times worse.
But making it so it's attainable. And that was something I talked to another person about this week, was making small changes over time, if they are lifestyle changes, so that it can be attainable. It can be ongoing for your family. So it's not something you tried for a week or two and decided that wasn't for you because you tried to do juicing, you tried to get rid of sugar, you tried to kick soda and coffee all in the same week, and then add in some exercise. And no wonder you're exhausted.
Small steps, great distances is what we need to focus on. Small steps, great distances, because, you know, it's kind of like waking up early in the morning. It's like me. I used to be on this 4:33 train. I'm going to get back on it. I'm speaking it now. Y'all can hold me accountable. 4:33 is when I would love to wake up. And right now, I am not there. I don't even want to admit to where I'm at. But, you know, in that 6:30 game again. But it's like, okay, I'm not just going to probably wake up tomorrow at 4:33.
No.
But what if I woke up at 6 or 6:15? And then what if I woke up at 5:45 or 6? And then what if I woke up at 5:30 and 5:45? And kind of small steps, great distances, just like you're talking in the wellness habits, for sure.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great example, because I know a lot of people feel like, oh, I could never get up at 4 to exercise and do stuff before my kids get up, or I could never run a marathon. And it's just those tiny steps of working towards your goal that are going to help you make it last going forward.
I'm gonna literally shift gears here. Well,
Okay.
I guess I can't literally shift gears.
Well,
I was
you
dumb.
can pull on some of these, but don't do that.
Do a little air horn there. So I'm going to shift gears here and go into my more inspiring, little grinding, empowering aspect of how I really like to speak. And thriving versus surviving. I so much want people to take action and move into action on figuring some of these things out, especially in their health. We are not getting any healthier as a nation. Let's call that out. We are barely surviving at this point. And in the last 2 years, people want something different.
Yes.
At what point in time can we help? Because I want to just say, at what point in time do you freaking make the decision? But now it's a little different. At what point in time can we help you move into action? At what point in time can we be a resource for you to learn what you want to learn or ask the questions, because we're very honest people. If you ask the questions and we don't know, there's two things we're going to say. Man, I have no idea. Let me figure that out. Those are the two things we're going to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let me figure it out. Because we want to take people into action and start thriving in their health and also building healthier generations. You want to leave something for your family behind, and maybe you don't have the financial means, or maybe you have so much freaking money. I don't care how much money and generational wealth that you have and want to build. If you leave health behind, and if you leave a family that knows how to be healthy, have the best life possible so they can do and have the quality of life and enjoy the freaking things they want to do, let's do that.
Yes.
That's what we want to do when it really comes down to thriving and surviving. Having all of these steps are great and are very much of that wellness lifestyle. Having the conversations, having the respect for time, making the relationships. And we are all, even in this office right now, are in a phase in our life where there's so much going on, and we too need to focus on our health and wellness, because a lot of times we are distracted and not respecting our time serving so many people here and trying to grow and serve more people, that we are in this with you as well, to at what freaking point in time do we really 110% full send this thing into how can we be healthier and make better healthy habits?
Absolutely. And I feel like that is the starting. So looking at the points we made today, the 5 points, how can you take action on those 5 points? So lack of respect and time. Make sure that when you have meetings, whether it's in business or you're meeting up with a friend, you contact them the day before and say something. It doesn't have to be mean, just a friendly reminder like, hey, looking forward to coffee tomorrow.
Yes.
Making sure that it is on the forefront of their mind so they can show up and be there and be intentional, make sure it still works for their schedule, and go forward with it.
It does two things. It shows that you're on top of your schedule and you value their time. And it also gives them an opportunity, because shit happens, and they might have forgot.
Yes.
Or they're like, holy cow, thank you for reminding me.
So they're not that person that doesn't show up.
Yep.
Number 2, chaotic work life, finding work-life balance. Having that conversation with your spouse, like we talked about. Sit down after the kids go to sleep or wake up at 4:30, whatever works for you. Talk to each other on your way home, if that's the easiest without kids, and talk about what are your goals? What are the things that they feel like they are doing and need help with, and communicate what you guys want to spend more time doing.
If there is chaos in your life right now, identify it.
Yeah.
Just identify it. There's not a whole lot of chaos in our lives right now, but we took time to identify it, because if there's a big variable there, change it. Well, you're not home until 30 minutes after kids get home. I almost can't get home in time. If that's what's creating the chaos, maybe just have a conversation with your manager or your boss or whoever it is. People want to help you, let them, but identify the chaos and go into solution-oriented conversation of like, well, let's just make the ask and see if we can make that change.
Yes. 3, leaving the negativity behind. So maybe, like we talked about, every time you come to a new challenge or something, or maybe talking about your goals, name the things that are positive, the reasons that you're going after this, the reasons that you are maybe working extra late the next couple of nights. What is the goal? So you guys have more money so that you can go on a vacation, or, you know, whatever it might be, so that you guys can do the things that you like on the weekend.
I said this last night on the webinar we did in our VIP access group. And we'll try to get you guys a link for that group if you want to be in it. But I said this last night, and it's wealthy people think this, and it's not because of money. It's time, it's relationships, and everything. And I've been coached on this as well. Wealthy people, or successful and wealthy people, think this. Not what this is. What is this going to cost me? It's what is this going to make me? So the negativity of, man, this is going to cost so much time, or man, I don't have time to do this. It's like, well, but you do, because what is it going to provide you? What's going to make you?
Right. And number 5, poor wellness habits. So if you know that there's something you want to change in your health, whether it is add exercise in or something, just pick one and start making tiny strides through that. Maybe you want to run a marathon. So you are going to get up and walk in the morning, or maybe after you get home from work or on your lunch break, you're just going to start walking. Maybe you'll add in some jogging here and there and some intervals of that. Or maybe it's just you want to drink more water and less caffeine. Okay, you just take more water to work with you that day, fill up the water bottles, whatever you have at work, and you're going to intentionally think, I'm not going to put caffeine, I'm not going to drink coffee, I'm not going to drink soda, I'm just going to fill my body with water and hydrate better and see what happens to my energy level.
And find resources. If we can be a resource for you, ask. Like, you can do all these things on your own, all right? You can, But let's be honest with ourselves. And how much more fun is it to do with somebody else or to have that accountability?
Yes.
Like you can do these on your own, but be very honest with yourself. If you're that diligent person to where it's like, look, I'm going to do this. I'm dead set, dead red. I'm on it. I guarantee you, even if you are that person, having a relationship, getting somebody like us, or if you need a referral to somebody, or maybe we're not the right fit for you, that's fine. But chances are, if you're listening to this, you might be. Let us be a resource for you. Again, at what point in time can we be a freaking resource for you to meet your goals? But grab somebody along with you. If it's a nutrition thing, we can help you find somebody like that. If it's a supplementation thing, we can help you find a resource for that. Do not do it alone. Do not think you can do it all by yourself. It is okay. Ask for help. Get help. It creates camaraderie. It creates accountability, and it gives people, those people that you use as resources, I guarantee you will celebrate with you, which feels pretty damn good.
Absolutely. And that's the difference between surviving and thriving.
Bingo.
So.
Anything else? Man, that was good. 35 minutes went quick. You're welcome. We're sorry. See ya.